I'm lighting everything up except my... Oh, there we go. Thank you, Lassie Corla, and I'm very glad to have the opportunity to speak on this bill and possibly the one later on in relation to proposed amendment to the Constitution in relation to families and in relation to gender and in relation to care. I was very proud to be part of the group that has been discussed, the Oireachtas Committee, to take the work of the Citizens' Assembly. And I first of all want to thank the work all of the citizens who contributed to that very excellent piece of work and who gave up their time through COVID. And having met a number of them subsequently as part of the committee, I know that they got a lot from the process as well as having given so much to the state in their effort. I also want to thank Deputy Batchik for her chairing of the committee that we all engaged in over a period. I think it was a very important piece of work, and we managed to do a lot of work in relation to domestic violence, into equality more broadly, into care principles more broadly, and I think it was a very, very constructive piece of work. Without wishing to go through the committee work again, I always, from the outset, expressed a more reserved view of what was possible in terms of constitutional drafting. I think it's fair to say that, of course, was built on my experience of the Children's Committee back in 2008, 2009, 2010, and the subsequent process of trying to draft the amendment for Article 42A. So this committee is not the first that produced constitutional wording. Of course, the All-Party Oireachtas Committee on Children did the same. And it was my view from the outset that, having gone through that process, at a committee process, say with Deputy Alan Shatter, as he then was, into the Attorney General's office with Minister Francis Fitzgerald, who took it forward, that they were very, very different constructs, and that what would come out of the Attorney General's office would ultimately have a different lens than what we agreed at committee, and that our best options at committee were to get the principles that we wanted there and the strongest language that we could agree on. But you'll recall in private I expressed concern again and again and again in relation to different words, and in particular I expressed concern in relation to the concept of care in the community, not because I'm against it in any sense, but because of how it was defined constitutionally and how it was understood. What I see here in between the two referendums, as I go through them, I look for the principles that I want to see in society. I look for how they might be expressed in the Constitution, and I ask myself the question, who does this deliver for, and what are we going to achieve by the people of Ireland passing this referendum? And I look at it and I think this is a referendum, the combination of the two. I think it does deliver for families not based on marriage in a way they have been systematically excluded because of the constitutional position, and that would no longer be the case. And to my mind, the asking of that question and getting a positive answer from the people, that is a good thing, and that will have practical impact for those families that I see as desirable, and so I completely support that approach. We may talk about the wording and the different ways of coming to it. You'll recall we tried to have the most minimalist approach possible. Okay, fine. But at the end of the day, I ask myself the question, is this going to deliver for families that are families not based on marriage, different forms of families? And I believe that it will. I ask myself then, is this going to deliver for women? Is this a genuine step forward for women? And to my mind, the deletion of the outdated sexist language that places me in the home as a constitutional concept, that if that is being deleted, that to my mind is a good thing, and that is a thing that I want to vote for, and that is a thing that I want the people of Ireland, not just the women of Ireland, to vote for. I have spent time in the home as a family carer. I have spent time in universities. I have spent time in the Oireachtas. I, like so many other people in Ireland, are a multiplicity of different experiences at different stages in life, but the Constitution identifies me with all of my experience, identifies you, Deputy Batchik, and you deputies across, as having a position in the home, when clearly we're here doing something very different. So to my mind, I ask myself the question, is it important that that go? And yes, it is very important that it go, and to my mind, that is an important statement on behalf of women of Ireland, and I hope that the question is both asked and answered in the positive. It doesn't diminish the position of women, it doesn't remove women, it doesn't do any of those things. They will be absolute red herrings that may come up in a referendum campaign, and we will deal with them then, but I think it's important to say that at the outset. In respect of care, and I might come back to this later on as we debate the 40th Amendment bill, I think this was our hardest part. To my mind, going back to first principles, and you just temporarily forget about the dialogue that we've had to date and ask ourselves the question, is the new expression of care in the Constitution a good or a bad thing? To my mind, it is a good thing. Would we have liked to go further to say other things, which I always said were not constitutional concepts, and I'll come back to constitutional concepts in a second. I always said they were not constitutional concepts, and I just didn't understand how they could be expressed constitutionally in the way that we were describing. Is the expression of care a good thing for an evolving society that is expressing compassion to its people? Yes, I think that is. I think that's a very, very positive thing. I think it's a reflection of our values, of our very evolving values. It's an expression of our compassion, and I think it is a really beautiful thing, actually, to reflect the care that people show for each other in families and more broadly, but to reflect the idea of it in the same way that we reflect the idea of education. We don't talk necessarily about teachers in the Constitution, but we do talk about the premise of education, and education being a thing that we do in families, and education that the thing that we do more broadly. And they are good concepts. I think that it's very important to reflect. But the other constitutional concept, the first word, like yourself, Deputy, I suspect, that jumped out at me was the question of durability, and what does that mean? Because again, that's not a constitutional concept to date that I have ever seen. So my question was, well, what does that mean? And I think it's really important that we tease this through now, because it's naturally going to be a question later. So what is durability? Is durability about commitment? Is durability about enduring? What is the difference between a durable relationship between adults or an enduring relationship? So I could be in a durable, intimate, personal relationship with somebody, or I could have that lasts for 10 or 20 years. I could have an enduring friendship with somebody that lasts 40 or 50 years. They are different relationships, and there is something to be thought about the nature, the horizontal nature of adult-to-adult relationships. I don't believe, and we can talk through it further, committee stage, I don't believe that this includes what Deputy Clark referenced about people living together for a period of time and being support networks to each other. I don't believe that this is included. I think it's a much stronger concept than that in terms of durability. And even the way it's phrased, it's like marriage or other durable relationships. It's a concept that's linked to an intimacy and a permanence. There's also the question of the vertical nature of relationships, the parent-child relationship, which I don't think anybody would say is anything other than a durable relationship, whether or not it's a mother and a child, an unmarried father and a child, and how that's expressed. But there's a permanence and a durability to that relationship that can't be described as committed, it can't be described in any other way. And I think it's really important that we tease this out now and question what do we really mean by durable, rather than simply criticising it and saying, well, I've never seen that before, therefore it's bad. What are we trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve something that is marriage or akin to marriage, the nature of something, I don't want to use the word durable again, but the nature of something that has a measure of permanence, that is stable, that is a concept that's grounded and not to be unpicked easily. And I think the best expression of that is that vertical parent-child relationship and what is around that. The question of where grandparents come into that, again, I don't even think that comes into it, because the state can step in and say in a care situation that the grandparent is not the correct carer. There isn't a sufficient durability as between that, because the state has another lever to intervene in that way. So I think it's important that we just talk this out and think this out. This may in fact be the right word, but I'm not sure we've gone through this process enough, and I actually think it's exciting to test it through and to see what it is we mean and what it is we don't mean. I'm sorry, I've gone over time.